Following the latest news related to this movie and Zack Snyder, I've decided, as relevant, I think now's a good time to give my review on Justice League 2017. Justice League is the first live-action movie of the popular DC team. It follows on from the events of Batman vs Superman. As the powerful villain Steppenwolf plans to conquer the Earth, Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, must assemble a team of heroes to fight this evil force and save the world. Now, before I give my take on it, I'd really like to see what you thought of Justice League down in the comments, and while you're there, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. Anyway, now onto my review. Although a lot of this had been cast from previous films such as Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Wonder Woman, which came out only a few months prior to this movie, I'm a big fan of the casting. Obviously, you see some clips of the Justice League members before this movie in Batman v Superman. I think a lot of the casting actually was done right. Ezra Miller as the Flash provides the laugh and gives us a bit of life. Ben Affleck is just a great Bruce Wayne and Batman in my opinion. Jason Momoa just seems born for this role and just seems to have such great fun doing this. Once again, Henry Cavill just fits the bill for Superman. Gal Gadot demonstrated in her movie that she is a great Wonder Woman and continues to demonstrate that in this film, taking a leadership role. And just seeing Jeremy Irons again as Alfred was very fun. Even Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg in this movie, he didn't have too much to deal with, but I think he did a solid job. Cyborg is always known as kind of this, I wouldn't say boring, but he doesn't have too much personality. He just makes a joke or two now and then. So his performance as Cyborg was fine. Now, unfortunately, they are the only good things I have to say about this movie. I really did want to like it, as you'd like to see any good team-up superhero movie do well, but I just couldn't enjoy this one. So I have a lot more to say on the negative side than the positives, and first of all I have to start off with the CGI. Now, one of the more famous pieces of CGI for just being straight up awful was Henry Cavill's moustache being removed because of CGI. Now, if you followed the news around the time of the release, Henry Cavill was starring in Mission Impossible Fallout and had to have a moustache. So obviously, for this movie, they couldn't shave it off as he needed it for the role. So what do? They decide to CG it off his face, and oh my god, does it look bad. The film opens with a scene with Superman, and it's just so noticeable.
Your Highness, I'm sure it's not that noticeable.
Obviously, if you didn't know the news about it, you might not know that they're covering up a moustache, but his like around his mouth, just it doesn't look natural. It looks very, very bad. Staying on the theme of CGI, this movie had a $300 million budget. So you thought, okay, they can do a lot. They can do what they want with this pretty much. But the villain Steppenwolf, the CGI for him was very, very bland, and he just looked very generic. I must say, the CGI for this wasn't too great. This is the only comparison I can think of, but the CGI for Steppenwolf wasn't much better than Abomination from Incredible Hulk from 2008, and that's saying something. So there was a lot of controversy surrounding this movie. Obviously, Zack Snyder was leading the project. Unfortunately, the death of his daughter had him quit. So Joss Whedon, who was known for directing the Avengers movie, took over, and some of the CGI he added in was improve the colours throughout the movie. It just looked straight up awful in my opinion. From scenes like in a cornfield just looks unnatural because the background is too light and the colours don't work well together. It just looks very unnatural. Where Avengers did very well in its first team-up movie is because a lot of the characters had a solo movie that they could see the characters in. If not a solo movie, then they feature in another movie. So Iron Man had 2 movies before Avengers came out. Captain America had a movie before it came out. Thor had a movie before it came out. Hulk had a movie which wasn't Mark Ruffalo, but it's still so you could understand the origin of Hulk. But even like Black Widow and Hawkeye appeared in other movies before Avengers. So this team-up movie had the right to earn it, but prior to Justice League, there had only been The Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and Wonder Woman, which, if you're not including the like flashbacks or the prophecy and the clips, that only introduces us to 3 of the main Justice League, not including Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is Avengers earned having all these characters together, but the Justice League rushes them all together and just relies on you knowing their story from the comics, and I can't let that slide. It doesn't feel earned. I literally nearly fell asleep watching this movie because I just couldn't get over how poorly made it was, which once again I can understand from the troubles behind the scenes. So hopefully things can be fixed for the Snyder Cut, which I will give my take on that in the next video. But as mentioned in this cons area already, Steppenwolf. Not only was the CGI bad, especially for what money they had, but he's just so forgetful. The big villain of the first team-up movie should be a big one to remember, like Loki. I have to keep referring to Avengers because it's an easy comparison, but I'm not saying he needed to have him established in a separate film like Loki was in Thor, but at least giving him some kind of character and quirkiness maybe about him, just something that makes him distinct. He reminded me of what's his name? Not because they're like similar. Well, they kind of are similar, but Malekith from Thor: The Dark World, how like forgetful he is, and a lot of the time where it would make sense for him to go about his mission to obtain a mother box, he didn't. Like, it was just there for the taking, and he was just not mentioned, just doing his own thing. But although when it did come with the mother box, when he actually did get them, they were so easy to obtain, like guarded by the Amazonians and the Atlanteans supposedly for thousands of years, and then he just swoops in, takes it, whoop, that's mine, and he's off. So as you can probably tell from my review there, especially the negatives, I'm not a fan of this movie. I wish I could be. I really wanted the DCEU to work, but I feel like this movie was the final nail in the coffin. Obviously, I could let Batman v Superman slide because it had important stuff, but this was their chance to like fix past wrongs and look forward to the future, where they have made good movies since this in the DCEU, but this was like the pinnacle point. So for me, Justice League gets a 5 out of 10. So recommend watching. If you're a DC fan, I would recommend watching, I guess, but you'll be disappointed. It's the first Justice League live action movie. They have a series, I'm pretty sure, but if you just want to see it because it's the first live action movie, go for it. In terms of enjoying it, I don't think many people will. So I wouldn't recommend unless you're a DC fan looking to see the Justice League movie, or you're just watching all DCEU. Anyway, that was my review on Justice League, and I will have my thoughts on the newly announced Snyder Cut in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you then.